This is the story I wasn't supposed to survive. The one the police called mass hysteria, and the news dubbed the Voss family disappearance. But I know what happened that night, and if you're brave enough, I'll tell you exactly why you should never, ever open the door during a blizzard. It started on December 17th. My dad, Mark, had dragged us all to his childhood farmhouse in Vermont for a cozy winter getaway. Mum hated it, said the place gave her the creeps, but Dad just laughed it off. Lena, relax. Nothing here but deer and bad Wi-Fi. By nightfall, the storm was so bad, we couldn't see past the porch. The power died. Dad fired up the generator, muttering about 2 days of fuel max. My little brother Ethan, he wouldn't stop staring out the window, drawing these weird stick figures in his notebook. I figured he was just scared of the dark. Turns out, he wasn't the one we should have been worried about. Around midnight, Ethan started screaming. I've never heard a kid shriek like that. Mom and I bolted to his room, and he's pointing at the window, sobbing. The man's here, the man with no face. Dad grabbed his rifle, shoved open the front door, but there was nothing, just snow. Mom tried to calm Ethan down, but then she checked the security camera. The camera showed something. A person, I guess. Tall, too tall, and where its face should have been, just smooth skin, like a mannequin. Dad said it was a moose. But that night, I heard Ethan whispering to himself under the covers, "Don't let it in, don't let it in, don't let it..." The next night, the knocking started. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats, over and over. Dad finally snapped, "I'm ending this," and stormed outside with a crowbar. Mom watched him vanish into the blizzard, and that's when things got worse. He came back an hour later, said he'd fixed the generator, and babbled about lights in the woods. But his boots, they were bone dry. No snow, no mud, just dry. Mom noticed it too. I saw her hand trembling as she poured him coffee. That's when she whispered to me, "Take Ethan to the garage. Now." In the garage, I found him. My dad, frozen solid, slumped against the snowblower. His skin was blue. His eyes, God, his eyes were milky, which meant whoever, whatever, was sitting in our living room wasn't Dad. We ran back inside, but the lights were dead. Mom struck a match, and there he was. Dad, except his face was dripping, like candle wax, and his voice, God, his voice. It sounded like someone drowning. "You shouldn't have looked," he gurgled. Then the windows shattered. They crawled inside, dozens of them, faceless, skin pale as the snow. Their limbs snapped and twisted like icicles as they moved. Mom shoved me and Ethan into the basement, but they found us. The last thing I remember, Ethan's phone hitting the floor, still recording. That, and the scratching, like something sharp dragging over concrete. The cops found the phone, said the audio was corrupted, but I'll never forget what was on it. Ethan's whimpers, Mom screaming my name, and underneath it all, a voice, not human, not animal, just hungry. So next time you're snowed in and you hear knocking, don't answer, and if you see lights in the woods, run, because I never got to. You've heard of the Wendigo, right? That old legend about people turning into monsters after eating flesh in the winter? Well, let me tell you, legends don't freeze, they don't die, and they sure as hell don't stay buried. This is what happened to me and my friends in the Rockies last February. This is why you should never, ever ignore the cold. 5 of us drove up to Black Pine Cabin for a digital detox. Jess's idea. She swore it'd be fun. No service, no stress, just snowboarding and spiked hot cocoa. But the second we got there, the blizzard hit. Whiteout conditions. Couldn't see past the porch. And that's when Jessa started acting off. She kept whispering about shadows in the trees. Tyler called her paranoid. Priya laughed it off. But I saw it too. Something darting between the pines. Too fast to be human. Too quiet. That night, we drank, laughed, played dumb board games. Then Jessa vanished. We found her tracks at 3 a.m. just gone. Like she'd been yanked into the sky. Priya screamed her name. Tyler swore it was a prank. But then we heard it. Jessa's voice, carried on the wind. "Guys, I'm over here. Let me in." We followed the sound. It led us back to the cabin, back to the door. But when we got inside, the knocking started. Not outside. Above us. On the roof. Tyler grabbed a fire poker, shouting, "Stop screwing around, Jess." But Priya, she was crying. "That's not her," she said. "That's not her anymore." We found the basement by accident. Door was hidden under a rug, locked tight. Tyler broke the latch. Inside, dust, cobwebs, and a stack of journals from the 1800s. Priya read one aloud, some prospector's diary about a curse in the snow. How his crew got trapped, how they started hearing voices, how they ate each other. Last entry was scribbled in blood. "It wears our faces now." That's when the hallucinations hit. Tyler swore Jessa was clawing at the roof. Priya saw her own reflection rotting in the mirror. And me, I kept hearing this chewing sound, like something gnawing on bone. We barred the doors, burned the journals, but the cold kept creeping in, and the voices got louder. Priya died first, woke up to her screaming, "It's in my lungs." She clawed at her throat until she choked. Tyler ran outside to get help. We found him an hour later, half buried in a snowdrift. His face was stretched, like his skin was 2 sizes too small, and his teeth, they were sharp, animal sharp. I bolted, left them all behind, ran for miles until I found a ranger station. But when I got there, the door was frozen shut, and behind me, I heard Jessa's voice again. "Derek, it's warmer out here." I turned, and there she was, lashed to a pine tree, frozen solid. Her mouth sewn shut with fishing line, and carved into her chest, my name. They found me 10 miles south of the cabin. Hypothermia, they said. Hallucinations. But I know what I saw. And if you listen to the audio from my GoPro, static screeches, you'll hear it too. The wind, my ragged breaths, and underneath it all, Jessa's voice whispering, "You're next." So next time you're alone in the cold, don't answer the knocking, don't follow the voices, and whatever you do, don't look up. You ever hear those trucker horror stories? The ones about hitchhikers who aren't human? Yeah, I used to laugh at them too, until December 12th, 2021, until I picked up coal. This is why you never stop for strangers in a snowstorm. and why you should always check your back seat. I'd been hauling refrigerated freight from Bozeman to Bismarck. Storm warnings. I ignored them. Big rigs like mine can handle anything, or so I thought. Around midnight, the snow turned into a wall. Couldn't see 10 feet ahead. That's when I spotted him. A guy in a blood-red parka stumbling down the shoulder. No hat, no gloves, just waving at me like his life depended on it. I pulled over. Stupid, right? But he looked frostbitten. Blue lips, chattering teeth. Said his name was Cole. Claimed he'd crashed his SUV miles back. Please, he begged, just get me to the next town. So I let him in. First mistake. Cole wouldn't take off his parka. Said he was still thawing. But I caught glimpses of dark stains on the sleeves. Blood. Before I could ask, the CB radio hissed to life. A panicked voice cut through. Any rigs on Route 200, stop. There's a wreck 5 miles east. Driver's dead, passenger missing. Don't pick anyone up. It's mimicking the... Then static. Cole stared at me, smiled. His teeth were too white, too sharp. Bad signal out here, he said. Let's keep moving. My hands shook so bad, I could barely grip the wheel. That's when I noticed Cole wasn't breathing fog, not even in 20. Guba. I pulled over at a rest stop, told Cole I needed to check the tires. He didn't move, just stared. I grabbed my tire iron, stepped into the storm, and he was gone. His parka sat on the seat, soaked in frozen blood and chunks, like something had burst out of it. Then I heard a tap on the passenger window. His eyes were black, no pupils, no whites, just oil spills, and his voice, God, it sounded like 2 people talking at once. Shouldn't have stopped, Rita. My truck's engine died, lights too. I ran, left everything, my rig, my phone, my damn shoes, and hid in an abandoned plow truck. But then the plow's radio clicked on. They found my truck a week later, crashed in a ditch. No driver, no Cole, just the dash cam, wiped clean except for 12 hours of static. Oh, and the breathing, slow, wet, like something was sitting in the back seat, waiting. So next time you're driving alone at night, check your mirrors, check your locks, and if you see someone in a red parka, floor it. Because whatever I picked up that night, it's still out there, and it's got a taste for long hauls.